Rob, we're back with another episode of Ruminate. I almost said the wrong name of the show because I'm doing too many podcasts these days. But this is
this is the Ruminate one. This is like the food one that we do.
This is the food one. And to mark the occasion, I ate some junk food for lunch. So there is that. This is also the one without video, which, you know what? A breath of fresh air. I now have to like look and make sure my hair's combed and I'm dressed properly before I do a podcast for most of my shows.
If you want to start making this video and you want me to get dressed, no, come on.
Rob's just sitting over there buck naked, but I think not. But let me kick this off with a Ruminate classic, which is a fantastic little snack I had for lunch today, and we're going right back to the Kettle brand chips because these Kettle brand people, they like their special editions. They really are. They're on the special edition bandwagon, and this one this week is called Special Sauce. And, I could not pass up a potato chip with special sauce seasoning on it. I had to purchase that. So I did. And, I think that the trick with these special edition chips is they're relatively small bags, which is good because if you don't like them, you don't feel like you're wasting as much. They're easier to finish or pawn off on somebody else. And it also is a way for them to charge you a lot of money for a small amount of potato chips, which is, that's commerce right there. But special sauce, I think the Kettle brand chips, I think they're starting to run out of ideas because special sauce, we talked about I think it was Chamboy a couple of episodes ago, which was spicy, kind of like spicy barbecue with a little lime. Very much a Mexican type flavor. This is really closer to a standard barbecue chip, but less, I would say, no spice at all. A little more on the sweet side. So I would say it's very much a, special sauce. I don't know what special sauce is. I think on most hamburgers, it's a mixture of things like mayonnaise, paprika, maybe a little tomato sauce, a few other spices. So it's a little bit. I think in the UK, this is usually just called burger sauce. Yes, I've seen that.
This is what we would call burger sauce.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is that this is like burger sauce or special sauce, and as a result, it's a little milder, a little bit closer to just straight up mild barbecue sauce, not as thickly coated or anything like that. But while it's not like a standout that's that memorable, it's quite good. It's not bad. It's one that doesn't make you think, oh, what did I do? There's not a lot of regrets coming from the special sauce chips.
Well, speaking of some regret,
yeah,
you may recall a few episodes ago we spoke about the mystery flavor Pringles that were like Mario branded.
Oh yeah, with the little question mark block on them and everything.
That's it. Yeah, and I was at my local Sainsbury's and they had these reduced. They were down to, I think, £1 for a tube of Pringles, which is a pretty good price.
Nobody was buying mystery Pringles, I guess, huh?
They had an entire pallet full of these crisps.
Oh my gosh! For £1 each, that's a pretty good deal. You bought a lot of them, didn't you?
I only bought 2.
Well, congratulations on your restraint. I thought you were going to say I bought the pallet and it's sitting in my backyard.
No, I bought 2 and it wasn't as good as I remember. I feel like I was excited about the first tube, but this second tube that I've had, it was just fine. And then there's a third tube downstairs that I still haven't opened. So, but yeah, I'm guessing the mystery flavor did not sell as well as they were hoping.
It's just one mystery flavor too, isn't it? It's not like, you're rolling the dice and maybe getting 1 of 5 or something like that.
No, it's all the same flavor. So, I got 1 more tube, which I'm sure when I get desperate for a snack, I will just eat them. Well, or I can give them to my child because, children eat anything.
Oh, they will. Yeah, they like that good, savory, salty snack. They'd be up for it. Sure, you're poisoning your children, but, at least you won't have a tube of Pringles lying around.
Well, I mean, that's what's important, really, isn't
It's far more important than the children, yes. So they're still doing a lot of snacks around the idea of, what are they doing? They're doing the video game snacks with Jack Black. Minecraft. Why am I not remembering Minecraft? I'm having a senior moment.
You sounded...
Good Lord.
You sounded like a proper dad then. Is that Nintendo game? What is it?
I sure did. I did. I've seen a bunch of them, and the thing that's interesting is that movie, from all accounts that I've seen, is both a bad movie and making a huge amount of money in the United States.
I've heard that, within 2 minutes of each other, that it was hilarious and also the worst movie anyone's ever seen.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know what to make of this. I'm not going to watch it. I mean, I don't barely even know what Minecraft is beyond it's a game.
Right.
So
with black creatures in it. Yeah. From what I understand, if you are into Minecraft, it's got that insider type of stuff that you probably would probably enjoy if you played the game. I've never really played it much either. It's not my thing, so yeah. So much not my thing, in fact, that I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, we both very knowledgeable on that topic.
Oh yes. Did you see, Rob, that the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is supposedly going to drop next week? It's a remake of the game.
I did not.
That was just in the news today, not 5 hours ago, on Kotaku and other places. And I don't know. I think that sounds, I think people are pretty excited about it. Supposedly, it's going to be the idea is it's going to be dropped as a surprise next week, though I guess with the reporting today, maybe it's not going to be so big of a surprise if it does.
Yeah, so it looks like some screenshots leaked or something, which is, I mean, that's, that sucks for the people that have worked on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it certainly seems pretty definitive that that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's been rumored for a couple of years, I think. There were some references to it in some litigation with Microsoft or some leaks or something that people were expecting that it was coming, but then there hadn't been any word on it. There'd been no official word on it in the last 2 years, so now people are very excited about it, which, that's a game. That's the kind of game I could get into. I could be into a remake of Oblivion. I never played the first one, so,
Yeah. I feel like I see all these games and it's more theoretical that I might like them than actually practically speaking, because I'm not sure I have the time for any of them.
Well, that's the thing. The theoretical is I have a very big game collection, many of which are just like not even played, and that's sad, but it is where I am.
Yeah, we're theoretical big gamer boys rather than practical.
Well, it's like the game that I was telling you about before we recorded that I've been testing, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And I've been testing it on Apple platforms because it just came out this week on the iPhone and the iPad. And as a result, what I end up doing is playing the tutorial first 15 minutes or so on like 5 different devices to kind of compare and contrast them. And so that's my video game play. It's like running through the same sequence on an iPhone, an iPad, and 2 different Macs and seeing how they compare, which is fine. But it's not really playing video games.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're getting the full depth of the story that they've put together for you there.
No, I haven't really. I'm very good at the first 15 minutes. I've got it down really, and thank goodness there's skip buttons for a lot of the dialogue because you can only listen to that so many times in a row. But that's a great game, and I would say I'm going to give people a sneak peek. This is kind of a thing I'm ready for Mac Stories, but it's really good on the iPhone and the iPad. I'm not entirely sure I would suggest that people buy it. I mean, it's a pretty good deal right now. So if you get in before May 5th, I think it is, it's only $10. So you download it, you get that tutorial part for free, and then you can get the whole game for $10. It's going to go up to $15 starting May 5th. It does not include the DLC. They did one DLC. But it runs quite well on the phone and the iPad. Stutters a little bit here and there, like when you're moving from one area to another, which it does on the Mac too. It's unfortunately not universal in the sense that iPhone and iPad are one thing, Mac is another, and the Mac is, I think, $20, which is kind of standard for what this game costs now. Like you could buy it on Steam, you can buy it anywhere. You can buy it on the Switch, on the Xbox, the PlayStation, anywhere, and it usually costs between $15 and $25, depending on where you get it. But usually those versions, at least if you get on Steam, I think it's $25 for the one with the DLC and $20 without it. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably better on a console, but it does look awfully nice on the iPad. And if you're, I suppose if you're a capital G gamer, you will not like the fact that it's locked to 60 frames per second on the iPhone and the iPad, whereas on PC and console, I think it's 120 and uncapped on the PC. So I don't know. There are differences, but I was happy with how it played on the iPhone and the iPad. Other than the occasional hitches where it would just kind of like freeze for a beat and then keep going, it's totally fine and it works. I mean, I would not play it with the on-screen controls because there's you can do things like turn on automatic fighting to a degree, automatic potions, there's various things you could automate so that if you are playing on a touch screen, it's a little easier to do. But then you're just kind of running around more than anything else. I prefer to play it with a proper controller because it does support controllers.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the way to go probably in most games, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I was just on the Wikipedia page. This is now basically out on every single platform you can think of.
Yeah, it really is.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everywhere.
Yeah, and it's not really an expensive game no matter where you get it. I mean, I think the benefit of the phone, of the iPhone, and it's also on Android, is just the portability potential for it, and if you haven't played it before, getting it for a deal for $10 right now, that is the cheapest place you can get it at the moment, I think. So it is less expensive than it is on console or Steam if you get it on iPhone and iPad. So worth checking out maybe. I mean, I like the game. It's just I was trying to get a good sense for. I'm on this constant quest for figuring out if you can play real video games on the Apple platforms, and I would say they're kind of getting there. This isn't what I would call like a really taxing game. So it's quite it's just a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania type of game, and it works pretty well for that. Stay tuned for more tests. I'm testing Assassin's Creed Shadows and Control on the Mac too.
Ooh, Control will be an interesting one because that ran really badly on the PS4.
Yes, it's an interesting one because it is both one of the hardest games to play on a lot of systems, like Steam Deck struggles to, even though it is not by any means a new game. So it's kind of in that it's still considered a hard game to play on a lot of systems, even though it's kind of older. And I wonder if that will translate well to the Mac or not.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I started playing Control on my PS4 and stopped because it ran so badly, and then I played it on the PS5. I think I played the PS4 version on PS5 because eventually there was another version. But it really needed the extra power of the PS5 to run all the stuff they were doing with that game, because it is an interesting game, but it certainly didn't run very well, famously.
Right. And then on the Nintendo Switch, they actually did it as a streaming game, which is a horrible idea because the Nintendo Switch had like Wi-Fi 5 and a really tiny bad antenna in it, and I did try it. I tried the demo to see how it was, and it was terrible.
That doesn't sound good at all.
No, I'm a glutton for punishment. Go with the faster Wi-Fi and GeForce Now or something if you want to stream, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rob, you have your pen actually showed up. We talked about your Tomb Raider pen 2 weeks ago. How's it looking?
Yeah, it arrived, and so I put a post up, and I mean, it's an ugly pen. It is really, like, the printing is not very good on the pen. It was clearly a cash grab.
Oh, really? Not very well made.
Not really. I'm glad I have it, because it is, I think, like we said last episode, like, it is an interesting item.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's very strange. I'm also having a bit of an issue. I think there was some leftover ink in there, because it's making my nice turquoise ink go very dark.
Oh,
so it's currently being cleaned out and is drying on my desk. Hopefully, I can fix that.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I hope you get all the gunk out of it, because then you can actually use it. I don't know.
Yeah, because I got this really nice turquoise ink that I bought, and then I put it in, and it's just really dark. And I was comparing it to other people who have this same ink, and I'm like, it's definitely not right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm now cleaning it out, and hopefully tomorrow or the next day I can get that ink back in, and it should be the colour that I actually expected it to be.
Very nice. Rob, this episode of Ruminate is sponsored by Rogue Amoeba, the makers of incredibly useful audio tools for your Mac that we are in fact using at this very moment. You can learn more about their apps at macaudio.com/macstories. There's a whole bunch of different things to explore here. You have apps like SoundSource, which I know you and I have used quite a bit in the past. It gives you amazing control over your audio. It lets you do things like apply audio effects, EQ, control your volume on a per app basis, and do things that, like, the sound settings in your system preferences just isn't capable of doing. Then, of course, there's their flagship product, which is Audio Hijack, which we're recording this show with. We've been doing that for years and years and years now. Every single episode of this show, in fact, has been recorded with Audio Hijack. It's perfect for podcasts, but it's also good for doing things like recording the audio out of Safari or whatever other app you want to do. And then there are other apps too. You can use things like Loopback. Loopback lets you create virtual audio devices. This is kind of an advanced app, but it's really useful when you're doing things like streaming or podcasts or whatever, video chats, that kind of stuff, to put together your microphone and apps together in interesting combinations and feeding them into a virtual audio device. And then, of course, there is the soundboard app, Farrago, which has some built-in sounds, but also allows you to organize and collect your own clips and play those back as part of your recordings as well. All of Rogue Amoeba's apps are available as fully functional free trials right from their website, and with recent updates, you can get started in just seconds with no restarts, no extensions, and no system setting changes, which is fantastic. And best of all, through the end of April, you can save 20% off your purchase. Just go to their website and use the coupon code MS2504 at checkout. That's the letters M and S and the numbers 2504 to get 20% off. Visit macaudio.com/macstories to get started today. Thanks to Rogue Amoeba for powering our audio needs on the Mac and for supporting this show. You made a purchase too on one of them based on one of my reviews, didn't you?
Oh yes, I did. In fact, I bought two things on your recommendation.
Oh, you did actually, didn't you?
I did. So I have a 15-inch MacBook Air coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming on Tuesday next week, so
nice.
a week's time. And I needed a sleeve for it, so I asked around a few places. I asked you. Because I'd looked around and this one brand kept coming up, was Tom Tok,
Yep.
I think is the brand name.
Yep.
And I thought, I've never heard of this. Like, this is very strange that this is the only one people seem to be recommending. So I thought, let me go and ask some people I actually know, you and some of the other Mac Stories people. And you also said you had this Tom Tok one. I was like, okay, well, I guess it really, I guess it is like a legit brand. So I've ordered one of those. But I've also ordered the Moft, I guess is how you say that company name.
I think
the
so.
Moft Invisible Stand, which is a very skinny, sort of fold-up origami style stand that goes underneath the MacBook.
Yeah. Moft is pretty nice. I was aware of them previously, but I had never tried any of their stuff until I went to CES. And their products are one of those things where it's like, I had seen them, but I wasn't really sure about them until I actually got my hands on them. And I was like, oh, this is actually really nice. Because you wonder whether this kind of origami fold-up thing will actually work and how good it is and how stable it is. And it really is pretty stable. And they sent me one and I've been using it for like a month or so. And I've been really happy with it. I've been putting a 14-inch MacBook Pro on it, which is heavier than the Air, I think, that you're getting. And it's been totally fine. And it's made with this vegan leather that's it's kind of a suede almost on the surface. So it's grippy enough that your laptop doesn't slide around, and it can do a couple of different angles. And when you collapse it all up, it's as thin as an envelope, really. It's really, really kind of remarkable.
Yeah, so mine arrived today.
Oh, okay.
And so currently I only have, in hand, I have a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is bigger than really what's recommended, I think, for the model that I bought. So I'm not sure if I bought the exact same one as you, but it's very similar because they have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
But even with the 16-inch MacBook Pro, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It clearly has got the, whatever they've done to make the structure for the stand, because it has two different positions, it's perfect, even for a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is a much heavier laptop.
Yep. Well, and here's some feedback for people online who have been tooting at you and me about this since you posted about it, which is the magnets. Mm-hmm. The magnets hold the thing together when it's closed up and folded. The magnets don't attach to the MacBook. That's not what's keeping it in place. It's just friction is all that's keeping your laptop in place. And yes, people do like to type at an angle with this thing propped up without using an external keyboard and mouse. I actually find that more comfortable than having it flat on a table. I think it's a good angle to have your laptop at. I don't do it all the time, but I do it a fair amount of the time. And especially when I'm sitting at a table or a desk, I find having that angle a lot more comfortable, just raising the screen a little bit and also getting my hands a little bit higher up off the desk.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see why people might say, oh, do you type with it or whatever? Because, I think a lot of people do take a keyboard and mouse with them when they go workplaces, but that seems like a lot of work to me. I'm quite happy to, just prop it up and just work.
Yeah.
Use the laptop keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, it would work fine. I mean, there are, portable, small travel mice and keyboards that I've used, which are fine. But for this, I don't really find it necessary at all.
No, I'm really impressed with this product, actually. And it's made me want to look at a couple of people have mentioned their MagSafe iPhone sort of tripod-y thing they've got.
Yep, I've got that too. Haven't used it a ton. But so what it does is it can be used a couple of different ways. It folds out and you can use it as a stand. So you could prop up your iPhone and watch a YouTube video while you're eating a meal, for instance. Or you can prop it up higher and use it to record video, which is what I intend to try to do with it at some point. But I mean, it's really for on the go. It's not so much I wouldn't do that sitting at my desk or whatever. I got a better setup for that. So I haven't really had an opportunity to try that yet. But it's quite nice. It gets it a decent distance off the desk and does the job in a pinch. Keep getting your phone off the elevated and propped up so that you can actually take video with it, which is something that's handy without having to travel with a separate miniature tripod. Plus, it has a wallet. Yeah, it has a wallet too, so you can put some cards in there.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's an interesting company. They've got some fun stuff on their website.
Yeah, they use a lot of recycled materials and things like that too, which is really nice. I talked to them a while at CES, and it seemed like a very interesting company in general.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm pretty happy that I've got it. And once my MacBook makes its way across the ocean from China, within the next 7 days. I can try it out with that. But given the 15-inch Air is not that much different to your 14-inch Pro,
right?
In terms of size, at least, I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear how the 15-inch MacBook Air is, because that's, if I were to buy an Air right now, that's the one that I would get. I would get the bigger screen one, because I feel like, especially for like the work you do, doing development work, the bigger the screen you have, the better.
Yeah, I mean, you saw a little bit of this in the Mac Stories Discord, but I was very torn between a MacBook Pro with slightly less RAM, or the MacBook Air with more RAM, but obviously it's thinner and it doesn't have like and I think it was like an M4 Pro in the MacBook Pro, so it was a whole thing, a bit of a balancing act, because I had this specific budget in mind, and
yeah,
eventually I ended up with the MacBook Air, and I thought, what, it's going to be fine. Like, we're talking about an M4, like that. It's compared to what I have now, which is an M2 Max. If you look at most of the benchmarks, like the M4 is basically the same as that.
Yep.
So I'm quite happy with my decision to do that.
Yeah, no, it is. And one thing that I think people don't realize is that the single core, or the single core performance of these M1 Macs has not progressed at the same rate as the multi-core. The multi-core has gone up a lot faster, and a lot of things don't use multi-core though. So you're kind of okay, whether you're on an Air with just a regular M1 or M4 chip, or a Pro with an M4 Max. For most of the things that people do, there are things that do require more cores, and reliance on the GPU. But I think for a lot of day-to-day stuff, the differences you'll see between the Air and the Pro are pretty marginal.
Yeah, and that was ultimately what it came down to. I thought, the Air's going to be a little bit lighter.
Yep.
Not by much, but it is a little bit lighter and it is thinner.
Yep.
It is a bigger screen, which I think ultimately is going to be more important than anything else.
Yeah. And speaking of developer tools, Rob, I want to do a quick quiz with you on terminal apps, because I have been doing more in the terminal, specifically running a command line utility called LLM by Simon Willison, which lets you query a bunch of large language models like Gemini and Anthropic's Claude and all that kind of stuff. And I don't like the terminal app that much, to be honest, the one that's built into Mac. And so I started looking around for something better, because I knew there were other things out there. And of course, I saw a lot of hype about something called Ghosty. I also saw a lot of love thrown around for Warp, which is, I guess, technically a terminal emulator. And I'm not sure what the difference is there. Maybe you can tell me. And of course, I also saw iTerm 2, which seems like it has a huge install base and is kind of a traditional native Mac app. What do you use, and what do you think is good for, like, maybe a beginner, maybe a more advanced user?
Yeah, so I have used, and I'm pretty sure I've done this my entire sort of career as a developer. I've just used iTerm. That's always been, I think that's really it's like the de facto standard of like, oh, you don't want to use terminal, just install iTerm 2.
Yeah.
I believe it's open source.
I think it's cross-platform too, right? Is it, or no?
No, it's just Mac OS.
Okay.
But it's free, which I think really helps it.
Sure.
And it has been for years. Like I say, I've been using it for probably 10, 12, 13 years, something like that. So that's the one that I think is the easiest sort of drop-in replacement for macOS Terminal. It has all the features that you could, if you come across a feature you think you might need, the chances are iTerm's going to have it.
Yeah.
Whereas the other two that you mentioned, so there's Warp and Ghosty, these are the two more modern ones that are maybe trying to do more new, interesting things. So like Warp has a lot of like AI features and is more, although it's a terminal, like there's a lot more UI that you wouldn't usually expect from a terminal. Like you've got, your history list, and there's like UI for running different commands and things like that. Warp's definitely probably the most unusual one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think unless you specifically need like something that Warp does, it's probably not the one I'd be going for.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's got a lot of. I was checking it out the other day, and Warp to me looks kind of. I don't know. It's got a lot of bells and whistles that I think kind of are meant to try to extend it beyond the traditional confines of a terminal application. Like, I think there's notifications, there's the AI stuff that you mentioned, there's like this ability to kind of. It's almost like block-based addition of different commands where it suggests things to you that you can do with what you're trying to accomplish. I don't know. It looked kind of interesting, but you're right. It is kind of a little different. And then there's Ghosty, which came onto the scene, I guess, late last year and is now out and eventually going to be, although I don't think it is now, cross-platform. And that one looks kind of interesting to me too.
Yeah, I think this one is available. So Ghosty is on macOS and Linux at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're going to do Windows. I read somewhere too.
Mm-hmm. My biggest bugbear with Ghosty is somebody built an app or a website for managing your settings in Ghosty, because the UI, I'm pretty sure it's just like JSON files or something for the settings, and like, which is just the most developer-y answer to a problem that we absolutely should not do.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, if it's settings, like just give people a UI. Yeah. Having said that, the app itself is very nice. Mm-hmm. There's a specific feature that I want, that I use in iTerm 2, which is, so bear with me here. iTerm 2 has a full screen mode that is not macOS native full screen mode. So it goes full screen, but on the window that I'm on, the screen that I'm on.
Right.
And Ghosty can also do that, but it can't do tabs when it's in that mode. Whereas iTerm 2 can. And I use that quite a lot. So that's why I've not used Ghosty all that much. I'm keeping an eye on it. Yeah. And if they add that feature, I might check it out again. But as it stands, that's why I can't use it.
Seems like a lot of people like these apps because they have a lot of customization for things like color schemes and fonts and stuff like that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think I mean, as I say, I don't think I've ever really tried the macOS terminal app all that much. I'm sure you can do some of that stuff, but yeah, you're going to get way more options for customization with one of these.
Yeah. No, I mean, the terminal's fine. I mean, and terminal supports tabs and all that too. But yeah, I don't know. I've been just looking around, trying out some new things, and I thought I would pick your brain. That sounds pretty good. I'm going to give them all a try, probably. That's just kind of what I do, and see which one sticks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, your use case is so very different to what I use it for. So what I need out of a terminal app is completely different to what you need. So, you may find that Warp actually is perfect for what you need because it has some specific thing that makes life easier. But who knows? Like you say, you can try them all out.
All right, Rob, I guess that's it for this week. And thanks again to Rogue Amoeba.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rogue Amoeba. And we will be back in a couple of weeks, as always. So I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, see you later, Rob.